Welcome back to the Ikon Technologies podcast. I'm Christopher Schouten, VP of Marketing at Ikon Technologies, and we're recording this in early March 2026. And if you've been watching the industry data, you know new car sales are down. Affordability is still keeping buyers on the sidelines, and dealer principals are doing the math. When the front of the house slows down, everybody starts looking at the back of the house to pick up the slack. With me today is someone who has lived that reality from every possible seat. From the service pit to the boardroom, Jay Thomas, our Director of Smart Marketing Operations. Jay, you're a Marine vet, a former lube tech, a CDJR, a service manager, an area manager for Bridgestone retail operations, over 20 years with grease under your fingernails and P&L statements in your hands. Thanks for being here.
Christopher, I appreciate it. The full circle thing is real. When I'm talking to a service director who hasn't hit his service absorption target in 3 months, I can feel what he's feeling because I've been that guy. So let's get into it because this is not a moment to sugarcoat anything.
Agreed. So let's start right away with the hard truth. FixedOps was supposed to be the ballast, the part of the business that keeps the ship stable when sales dip. But late 2025 data tells a different story. Cox Automotive is showing that only 54% of owners of 2-year-old or newer vehicles went back to the dealership where they bought the car for service. And our numbers are showing the same. In 2023, that number was 72%. So that's nearly a 20-point retention drop gone in 2 years.
That number should scare every FixedOps director in the entire country. Because we're not talking about conquest customers. We're talking about people who already bought from you. They already trust you enough to finance a $45,000 vehicle, and they're still leaving. That tells you the experience is breaking down somewhere between the sale and the service drive.
And it's not like dealers have unlimited resources to fix it either, because we're seeing a cost index stuck at a score of 70, according to Cox. Persistent concern about rising operating expenses, technician wages, parts acquisition, utilities. And here's a number that really got my attention. In Q3 of 2025, those rising costs actually outpaced revenue growth, leading to an 8.6% decline in gross profit for fixed operations. FixedOps was supposed to be the buffer, and instead it took a hit.
And that staffing piece is its own crisis, Christopher. The industry is going to need 75,000 new collision technicians by 2028. And the pipeline is only producing about 30,000 graduates, so you're already short. And on top of that, the service advisor turnover is running around 34% annually. So you're constantly retraining, constantly rebuilding customer relationships from scratch. Every time you lose a good service advisor, you lose the trust that they built with their customers. And those customers don't stay loyal to the store, they stay loyal to that person. When the person walks out, some of those customers walk out with them.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before with my own family. They have their favorite service advisor, they leave, and all of a sudden they switch to an independent or to another dealership that's closer to home. But then when you layer on top of that what customers are actually saying about the experience, it gets even worse. Cox Automotive found that 45% of customers are dissatisfied with dealership service. And the number one complaint isn't price. It's surprise costs and poor communication. But here's the irony. In 2025, the average dealership repair ran $261. The average general repair shop charged $275. So the moral of this story, dealers are actually cheaper, but the perception is the opposite because the communication isn't there and customers are staying away from franchise dealer service lanes as a result.
Brother, that's the trust gap. And it's being exploited by every quick lube shop and independent garage in the market. When a customer doesn't know what something's going to cost before it happens, they feel ambushed. And when a customer feels ambushed, they don't come back. More importantly, they also don't refer. And Cox has another number that should be keeping dealer principals up at night. Over half of car owners who bring in a vehicle for a major repair are open to trading it in. But very few are even told what their vehicle is worth while they're sitting in a service lounge. That's a massive missed opportunity, not just for retention, but for used inventory acquisition.
Yeah, and I saw another number that really fascinated me, and that's that if you get your car serviced in a franchise car dealership, you are 74% more likely to buy your next new car at that dealership. And that's an opportunity that dealers just can't afford to miss.
Right.
So you've got costs rising, talent leaving, customers defecting, and then you've got the systems problem underneath all of it. The data fragmentation issue is one of the things I talk to dealers about constantly. Most dealerships are still running disconnected systems, finance, service, CRM, inventory. None of them are talking to each other. And critically, most dealers don't have access to OEM telematics data that would let them reach customers with precision-targeted mileage-based messaging.
You hit that right on the head. It's like trying to run a military operation with no comms and no intel. You don't know where your customers are. You don't know when their vehicles are due for service. You don't know if they've been sitting at the competitor's shop. You're fighting blind. And most dealerships don't have the internal scale or the marketing infrastructure to build that kind of capability on their own. It takes a solid technology partner who has already solved those problems.
Which is exactly the space that Ikon was built to fill. So let's talk about what we're actually doing for dealers, because the problems are real, but thankfully, so are the solutions.
I've got you on this one, Christopher, because this is where my service drive experience really connects. Traditional service marketing is calendar-based. You send a postcard because it's been there 3 months, whether the car needs a service or not. Ikon flips that completely. We're using real-time telematics inside the vehicle to know exactly when it hits the mileage interval the dealer has set. And when that moment hits, not a month before, not a month after, the customer gets a text with the dealer's branding and a direct booking link. One tap, they're on the schedule.
And the response rates prove the difference precision makes, because we're seeing as high as 30% response rates on those mileage-triggered texts. And that's not a marketing metric, that's a conversion number. And for our steady dealers, we're averaging 50 plus incremental repair orders a month as a result. So when you put that against an average of $10,000 in lifetime service revenue per customer, you understand why we talk about this as customer lifetime value, not just an oil change.
And that's the retention play, brother. Every customer comes back to the dealer's service bay instead of driving past it to the quick lube shop down the street is a customer you've protected. And when you've got that mileage trigger landing in the pocket at exactly the right moment with exactly the right offer, you've taken away the reason to go anywhere else.
But we know life interrupts, right? So a customer gets one of your texts, clicks the link, starts the booking flow in the dealer scheduling system, and then they get a phone call or they hit a green light or something else happens. Now, in the old world, that was a lost opportunity. Customer might never come back to that text again. But that's where smart leads change the game. Jay, walk us through that.
See, Christopher, as from a former service manager, this one is a personal win for me. You see, every week we hand our dealers a curated list of what we call smart service handoffs, people who were one click away from booking. These are not cold names from a database. These are high-intent customers who already raised their hand and said, hey, I need service, but life happened, right? When your service advisor or BDC rep calls that person back on a Tuesday, not a Monday because Tuesdays are better, the conversion rate is extraordinary. You're not interrupting someone who doesn't know you're coming. You're following up with someone who already told you they need you. That's the different conversation entirely.
Exactly. And then there's the mobile experience, the Ikon Connect app. So I always tell dealers the most valuable real estate in the world is the home screen of a customer's smartphone.
100%.
If you have a branded app with your dealership's logo on that screen and a warning light pops on your dash, you're not going to Google to look for the closest repair shop. You're tapping on that logo because you know that's where you can go for service. So that's the retention anchor. Ikon does that for our dealer customers. No other GPS provider on the market does. We want that to be your real estate. It's there for you to continue that brand relationship with the customer through the long term as a direct channel to keep your service base full.
And you own that relationship instead of renting it from some third-party platform. In an environment where you're fighting for every RO, owning that channel is a competitive advantage that compounds over time.
And that's what we hear from our dealers every time. But we're not stopping there. We're expanding smart marketing into deeper integration with OEM maintenance schedules, capturing more than just oil changes. So knowing when the cabin filter needs to be replaced, when brake flushes are required, spark plugs, you name it. But we're also moving into automated recall management. So when a safety recall drops, we want the dealer to be the first call, not a letter from the OEM that sits on the kitchen counter for 6 weeks, an immediate text notification with your dealership's logo and an immediate book now link. That's safety and revenue working together.
And you mentioned the one thing I keep thinking about, customer defection detection.
So, we did some measurement for one of our biggest customers and found out that 61% of their customers were going to independents and other franchise dealerships for their service. How did we do that? Because we're using geofencing and telematics data so we can identify when a customer's vehicle is spending time at a competitor service center and automatically trigger a win-back campaign. We're not waiting to notice that the customer is gone because they missed their oil change 6 months ago. We catch it in real time and respond. So that's really, like you were talking about, protecting your turf, Jay.
In the Marines, we didn't lose ground and then try to take it back. You got to hold that line. That's what this does.
Well said, Jay. And to wrap this up, the challenges facing FixedOps in 2026 are real. Sales are down, costs are up, retention is down, staffing is hard. But the dealers who are winning right now are the ones who stop guessing and start using data to connect with their customers at exactly the right moment with exactly the right message, even if their OEMs aren't providing that data for them. So if your sales are down, don't panic. Focus on the drive. Reach out to your Ikon sales or account manager and ask to see your smart leads for this week. I'm Christopher Schouten. Keep those bays full.